Hi, I'm Susan Bradish, and I'm here today to show you how to make a quilt square for the Jessamine County Public Library Community Quilt Project. I've made one already I'd like to share with you. The idea is to choose a book that you like, and here's the book that I chose, The Storyteller by Evan Turk. And here is the quilt square that I made based on Evan Turk's book, The Storyteller. Today we're going to make a quilt square based on Eric Carle's Animals, Animals. Quilts have 3 layers. They are a sandwich of 2 layers of fabric with a batting or padding or some sort of squishy stuff in between. So in my case, I've chose this fabric as the back side of the piece. I have white fabric as the front side of the piece. And just to make things easier, I used a fusible fleece. So this is a fleece that you can buy at the fabric store that has a glue on one side and is just simply ironed onto your fabric. I've also put a fusible that is not fleece onto the back of this fabric, which will be the back side of my piece. And I've already ironed on the fusible, and I'll show you now how this works. Once the fusible is ironed on, you simply peel off the paper. You may be able to see that there's a shininess, which is glue. I'm going to flip this over, put it onto the back side of my piece. I'm going to go to the ironing board and we're going to iron this on. So now we've got our front fabric that the design will go on, fleece, glue from the fusible, and the back fabric. Notice I have a little overhang here, so to prevent myself from ironing the glue onto my ironing board, I'm going to use a piece of parchment paper, because this is parchment paper like you use for baking, and the glue will not stick to that. Now when you're ironing this on, you don't really iron it around, you simply hold your iron down for a bit, and then usually it's a medium hot iron, and you have to carefully press all along the whole surface and hold for a few seconds. Now on the book, the first design element that I'm going to sew on is going to be these lines that represent the water in the picture. And to represent those lines, I've chosen a variety of ribbon yarn. And here is just one of several that I picked, and I'll be sewing those directly onto my white background and making them in kind of a wave like this. So here are some that I've already done. And I will now sew on one more here in this space to demonstrate how to do that. Okay, and I've just got a regular straight stitch on my machine, and I'm just using a blue thread here. You can probably see it. And I'm just using the blue thread for everything, even if it isn't blue. So here's how you put these ribbons on. And you just wiggle back and forth and make that thing look like a wave. The next step in our process is to create our title for the book. So we're going to be doing the lettering. Now I've got a piece of white fabric that matches my quilt square background. And I have ironed on a piece of fusible adhesive. Now I'm going to flip that over before I take the backing off. While it's still kind of stiff like paper, I'm going to use a straight edge here, and I'm going to very carefully, with my just pencil, in light pencil, I'm going to begin lettering. And I'm just going to do a few letters in pencil for the demonstration. So here are the first two letters of the, right here. So I'm kind of starting in the middle so that I can work out. And then I'm going to take my permanent marker. This is a one of these micron markers, but you could use any fine point permanent marker. And I'm going to draw in by hand this A, fill in where I want the letters to. Okay. The next step now is to make our octopus. So this gets a little involved, so just stay with me here. The first thing is to make a pencil drawing of the octopus and then outline it with a heavy Sharpie marker. Now, if it matters to you that the octopus or your design element is exactly the orientation as it is in the picture on the book, then what you'll need to do is flip this over and lay your transfer or your heat and bond onto here, and then trace the octopus onto your fusible, because it's going to reverse when you flip it back over after it's on fabric. Okay, so here is my octopus that I have traced onto my fusible heat and bond, and I've already placed it, ironed it onto my fabric. Okay, and the next thing is to cut this out carefully with a pair of scissors. And here we have it. Okay, now here we have our water all done. And now the next, and we've got our octopus cut out, so we're going to decide where exactly we want to place the octopus. And notice that we have our lettering all ready to attach as well. Both of these are going to be attached with the fusible. So the idea here is to just place them, first peel the paper off the back. You want to make sure that you give yourself enough space that you'll have room to put your binding around the edge here. So I think this is just about where I want the octopus there. So I'm going to attach the octopus first. Actually, I think I'll use a piece of parchment paper just in case my ribbon decides that it wants to stick to the iron. Sometimes these polyester things will do that. All right, let's see how we did here. All right, there is Mr. Octopus all attached. Now you want to let that cool and not mess with it too much while it's cooling off. And my next step then will be to put my title up here. And I think we'll go just about there. So it's already attached. It's already got the iron on it. And so I need to peel the paper off. An important fact to remember. Okay, I'm going to take these pins out because I don't want to melt the plastic that the pin heads are. And then we're going to just iron on my title too. All right, now it's time to put our eyeballs on our octopus. And I made these simply by using a fusible on the same white fabric that the background is. And then I just simply cut out a little circle. I'm going to peel the paper off the back here, and we're just going to iron them on in place where we want them to be. All right, so I've placed them where I want them. I'm going to lay the parchment paper down and carefully just press and make those adhere to the octopus. If you take a look at the book, you can see that the eyes have little black sort of horizontal pupils. And so I'm going to make that using a black marker. Okay, now that is my permanent marker. And even though it's permanent, you always still want to hit it with a little bit of heat from the iron just to fix it and make sure that it is going to stay where it got put and not run or something in case this were to ever get wet. Okay, now the final step in the design process here is to make these little pink suction cups that the octopus has on all of its arms. And what I did here, there are many ways you might do this. This is one way. I took pink fabric. Let me see if I can lay those where you can see them. I just took some pink fabric and put a fusible on the back of it. Then I used a very sharp paper hole punch, like you'd use to punch holes in notebook paper to put it in a binder. And I just cut out a whole bunch of them, and I've already peeled the paper off of these. So we will now, I'm only going to attach a few of these to show you, and then I don't want to do too many at a time. Now, understand that these are going to be very easy to get upside down and have your adhesive in the wrong place. So here, let's put these down here along this arm. So be very careful to make sure that your glue side of the pink dots is down against the fabric should you wish to do it this way. And I'll show you on these three. Now there are many ways that you might make these pink dots. You wouldn't have to do it this way. And one of the most expedient, easiest ways would be to use pink fabric paint and simply buy one of those little sponges that are on a stick with a small dot, that make a small dot, and then just sponge the little dots right onto the octopus. And of course, you could probably even do that with a Q-tip if you didn't have one of those little sponges. So there we go, and I will put the rest of these on before I finish the edges, which I will show you how to do in the next video.